Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. If you are new to this podcast, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Today, I am hosting our very first Her Version roundtable discussion with these amazing females who are going to be sharing their insights around the topic of divorce. Let's jump right in. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version, our very first ever roundtable event. I have so many beautiful females here joining me today, and I thank you so much for waking up early on a Saturday and joining me on this topic of divorce, actually. So you guys come from a wealth of experience, and I'm so excited to share questions and comments and experiences with each other and also with our audience. So welcome. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Yes. Good. Did anyone have as exciting of a morning as I did? I was telling the ladies right before we jumped on that first thing in the morning around 6 o'clock, I woke up bright and early to make sure everything was set up and everything was good. And I totally wiped out in the shower this morning, very first thing, basically rolling out of bed. So that was definitely a turn of events for me and my mental state for the morning. But I thank everyone for being here and being so smiley and so beautiful this morning. So any updates? How is everyone? Good. Excited? Yes. Good. So
always
today,
with you.
Thank you, Lise. So today I am going to be giving away my hosting duties for segments of a time to allow these ladies to introduce themselves and openly discuss topics around divorce that they themselves might have struggled with, that they are dealing with, or that they have seen happen with friends and family. We're going to dig in and peel back the fears that sometimes go with divorce. So first on the list, I am actually going to be opening the floor to Miss Christine. And what we're going to be doing is introducing ourselves, maybe doing a little, backstory of a few sentences. Let us know, who you are, where you're from, and then we're going to jump into a question, and then we're going to open it up to the floor so that people can raise their hands and discuss openly the topic that you have chosen. So we're going to start with Christine.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So my name is Christine Del Negro, and I am an EFT practitioner and a life coach. And EFT, or emotional freedom technique, sometimes people call it tapping. It's a holistic healing modality that helps calm the nervous system and gain clarity over thoughts and emotions so that you can process them and let them go. And I found that when I was going through my divorce about 8 years ago, and it really saved me. It was a turning point in my life personally, and it's something that I've used every day since then. And so I use that with my clients in addition to other coaching modalities to help women figure out what's keeping them stuck and help them let that go so that they can cultivate more joy in their lives. And I was thinking very quickly this morning because I was not supposed to go first. And so Sabrina told me that as we were getting on, and I was like, oh God, wait, I was going to watch the other people go ahead of me so that I could figure out what the hell I'm doing. And, but I think it's a really nice metaphor for when you're going through a divorce or anything in life, you get pushed out of your comfort zone. And for me, my biggest struggle around going through my divorce was that I think one of the main reasons that I stayed in my marriage for so long was because I didn't think I was strong enough to handle anything that, like the idea of being a single parent, or even just the idea of like putting out there that I was unhappy in my marriage, and having those conversations, and, seeing where that went. And, one of the things that I learned was that I am so much stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. And so now I trust myself. And I think that that's one of the things, as I was thinking about this during the week, that I think is a really big struggle. At least it was for me, and I believe it's probably true for other women as well, is that when you're in a relationship or a situation where you're stuffing your feelings down because they're scary and because you don't know how to deal with them, you start to lose trust in yourself. And one of the big challenges as you go through a divorce or any major situation is learning how to trust yourself again, because you have to, because you're going to get yourself through. And the more you can trust yourself and be honest with yourself, even when it's scary, I think the better off you will be. So that is my little nugget of wisdom for the morning. And and okay, I've sort of lost track now. But I guess that's I think that's one of my questions. I had several, but one of my questions for you all is, what if you could give advice to a woman who is in the middle of that, whether it's contemplating, moving out of a relationship, or at least putting on the table like, hey, this isn't working for me, somebody who is in the middle of it and thinking, oh my God, I have no idea how I'm going to get through this, or someone who's out of the actual marriage and figuring out being a single woman again, if she's a mom, being a single parent, like what is the best advice that you could give to somebody that like you either wish someone had told you, or that someone did tell you, or you like your big takeaway from your experience?
Tori?
I'll go first. I think with, divorce or being in a bad relationship, I think we all have that, like dark cloud of like, what if? And we tend to just like not even look at it for a while. At least that was the case for me, where it's like, you're not happy, but you're not even going to look at it because this is what you chose and this is where you are. And so if you do look at it, you can follow those fears back to like what the specific fear is. Like mine was that I wasn't going to be able to provide for my son. And so it was like, that's why I was staying. But it is really freaking hard to starve in America. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, there are so many resources out there. There are so many people that's willing to help. I have a wonderful family who, 5 of them offered to take me in and let me live with them for a while until I got back on my feet. Like, there are so many resources out there. And so, it's like, if your fear is, well, I'm not going to find anybody else, follow that. Like, is the person you're with actually showing you love? Like, are you getting love with this? Or is it, just the security of the appearance of love or something like that? So it's like, if you actually look at that dark cloud of fear and you're like, what is the specific fear? Usually the fear is solvable. So I would just encourage everybody to look at what they're actually afraid of in, the scariness of a divorce.
Yeah.
Yes, Tori, I completely agree with you. I think the other thing that I think is really important, that when you're in a relationship and you're considering things, is support. I think a lot of people don't recognize that they can ask for help, whether it's with your family, like you were mentioning, resources, seeking support to help you figure that out. Because I know for myself and many people that I coach, they feel like they're in it alone. They have all of the burdens on their shoulders. They're kind of running the show, so to speak, in their mind and in their life. And it's one of the things that I did is I stepped outside. I recognized that my capacity for asking for advice within my family was maxed out because they had never experienced divorce. They didn't understand, I was going through something that many of the people around me weren't familiar with. So they didn't know how to support. So I recognized I had to step outside of that. And I sought a coach and I, took that path. It was the best decision I ever made. So like you were mentioning, resources, support, who around you can help you figure out your biggest fear, what the next steps are, and you can ask for help.
I'll build on both of those because I love what both of you have shared. I think that the confusion and the frustration comes when in not trusting ourselves. We made this decision. We chose this person. So it almost feels like, well, I'm a bad chooser. I'm bad at knowing. How could I assume that anything is going to change moving forward? So I think it's just so important to do that personal work, to understand that we attract everything energetically, and who we were energetically when we attracted that obviously has shifted because it's not working for us anymore. So getting clear that we're going to be a different sort of magnet now. We're attracting something into our lives that's going to be better for us, and that's what this impulse is that's calling us to leave this situation. I think that dispels a lot of the guilt and mistrust in ourselves.
Sabrina.
Yes. So to be completely honest, I've actually never been divorced. I've never been married, but I was in a long-term 13-year relationship, and I can totally relate to what Lisa just said. I had left 2 times prior, and went back against my parents' will, against friends and their advice, and everything that was being thrown at me that said to not go back. And I wasted another 6 years of my life because of that. And I actually call it ego. I was so determined to prove people wrong, and realized how foolish I would look if I left for a 3rd time. And I wasted so many years. And I knew immediately. I knew within the first year. And me not wanting to look like a fool, me not wanting to look like I couldn't make good decisions, everything Lisa just said is what literally just tore an extra 5 years away from my life. So like 100%.
Can I jump in?
Mm-hmm.
Even though, okay. I've also, I've been giving this a lot of thought over the prior week. And one of the things that I've realized is that I think, we talk a lot about forgiveness and forgiving other people. And, sometimes depending on what someone's done to you, a lot of people are really resistant to that idea. Completely understand it. That's a different conversation. But the big realization that I've had over the years and like layer by layer is that the biggest person that you need to forgive is yourself. And to forgive yourself for making those decisions, to forgive yourself for not having the strength to walk out the first time, to forgive yourself for going back more than once, and all of those things. You have to learn to love yourself, and it's not an easy thing. I don't want to I think sometimes people listening, if you're in the midst of something and you're listening to people who've been through it, and we throw things around, and it may sound like we're saying it's so easy, snap your fingers and get it done. It's not. It's a process, absolutely. But I do think that self-forgiveness is so important, because if you're constantly trying to push part of yourself away, you're expending so much energy on that. And it's really hard to move forward. And it comes in dribs and drabs. I had a realization this past week that there was something I hadn't forgiven myself for from decades. It had nothing to do with my marriage, decades old. And once I had that realization, it was really emotional. And I thought, oh my God, I gotta love that kid. It was something from my childhood. I've got to love that kid, because if I can't love her, how am I loving that innocent kid who was totally struggling? I cannot forgive her. How am I forgiving my 54-year-old self for whatever mistakes that I've made? So I think that that is really important. And I also think, and this was something else that I really hated to hear people say when I was in the middle of it, it is a choice. And again, it's not like, oh, I'm going to choose to be happy today. I'm going to choose to fix my life. Yay, everything is okay. But it is a choice. Like I had a moment in my marriage when I realized that, like my ex-husband and I realized we weren't happy, and we were kind of at this point where we needed to decide what we're going to do. And I had this realization of, okay, whatever happens, whether my marriage can be saved or not, I have to save myself, because I do not like the person that I'm seeing when I look in the mirror. And she's the most important person here. And so that was the choice. And so the choice was, I'm going to do whatever I have to do so that I can look myself in the eye and love myself and feel like I am the person that I meant to be. And so that was a choice. And I made that choice like every day, multiple times a day. And sometimes I failed miserably, and sometimes I didn't. And it's like, you keep making that choice over and over again. And when you screw up, you forgive yourself and you just get up and do it again tomorrow. And so I think like, if when you think about like and I also made a choice when I went through my divorce, I am not going to let this is not going to define my life. I'm not going to be bitter. I'm not going to be angry. It's not going to stop me from, loving again, from enjoying my life. And whatever the hell I have to do to get there, I'm going to do. So if I have to go to therapy, if I have to go to coach, whatever I have to do, if I have to have an exorcism, whatever it is, I'm going to do it. So I think you got to just keep choosing yourself again and again and again.
Absolutely. Okay.
Charm. Oh, we can't. You're.
Maybe, is this better?
Yes.
Without it? Okay. Maybe it's not working. I can hear you guys all good. I lost my train of thought. The fear, like realizing what the fear is that's keeping you in that situation, and then breaking it down into small steps. And that's what helped me, was just to take that first small step, and then the next step would show up, and then and you're moving forward with just small steps, but you see the light at the end of the tunnel with each step forward.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. All right. Any more on that topic? No, we're good. All right. We're moving on to Lisa.
Hi, y'all. Good morning. So, okay, we introduce ourselves and we ask some questions, right? So I'm Lisa McCourt. I have an online joy school. Do you guys hear a weird echo thing?
It's Charmin. Can you put your ear things back in, Charmin?
Okay.
I have an online joy school. I've been a joy trainer for 20 years. Basically, that just means I teach tools of vibration elevation. So, twice divorced, happily married to the love of my life. My second divorce was pretty unique in that I was able to create exactly the divorce situation that I wanted, and we're still very good friends, and he's here all the time, and it's all worked out really well. Wow. So that's my perspective. I help a lot of my clients through this situation. And my question for y'all, my top question, I had a few, was I often come across people who tell me, I can't get divorced because of the kids. I want to wait till the kids are older. It's not right for the kids. And we all know, right, that they're these like little energetic sponges. And when I try to explain that, I hear, oh, but they never hear us argue. They have no idea there's anything wrong with our marriage. Well, they're creating their whole definition of what a marriage is around what they're energetically absorbing. So how have y'all dealt with that, or do you deal with that with your clients? Marie.
I definitely went through that with my child. It was about 6 years that, I went through that with my ex, where he told me that he cheated on me. And I went through a forgiveness process. And then I stayed with him for 6 years after that. And when I went to my son to have that discussion with him about, you know, things were going to change, he said, "Good for you, Mom."
Wow.
He's like, "You guys are toxic for each other, and I'm really glad that you're taking that step forward."
So did that make you sort of think twice about the time that had gone by while you thought you were doing what's best for your child?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the people are just resistant to recognizing that they might be doing more damage by staying than leaving. And I don't know if sometimes it's an excuse because of the fears that Christine addressed, and we've all, you know, talked about. There are a lot of other fears that go hand in hand with that. But you know, certainly I assume we all agree here that this is not a favor for the child. So I didn't know if any of you wanted to speak to that. Yeah, Tori.
So I was actually pretty lucky with my divorce. We had some issues prior to the pregnancy, and I was sick, and they told me it was my last chance to get pregnant. We were kind of in a good place, and so throughout that pregnancy, and then after the pregnancy, we were not in a good place. And so I was really lucky in that my ex-husband and I agreed, and we were just like, this is not what we want to show our kid that a marriage looks like, that a healthy relationship looks like. And so, you know, I think we all saw role models growing up of what healthy relationships looked like. And then when it was time to build our own, we had a hard time with it because, you know, all the role models, like nobody's perfect. All the relationships that we saw had flaws in them. And so the relationships that we built had flaws in them. And so I think that was like a huge driving factor in the divorce that I had for my ex-husband and I both, was that we need to build a better world for our kid. And so he was our top priority in getting the divorce.
As it should be. That's beautiful.
Wow. Actually,